Yes, our laboratory is very interested in how macrophages become activated subsequent to HIV infection and cross the blood-brain barrier. It seems to be a serious problem in HIV-associated neurocognitive disorders because most of the problems seem to be associated with inflammation within that compartment. So we're coming up with strategies to see how we can ablate that inflammatory process within the central nervous system. And we think that cannabinoids, or at least select cannabinoids, have the potential to be a major player in ablating that kind of cascade of inflammatory response. It's so important because in view of the fact that people are getting highly active antiretroviral therapy, still there seem to be problems with neurocognitive disorders and brain inflammation due to various aspects of HIV infection. So this approach might engender some new way to have an adjunctive therapy that can be applied in the age of highly active antiretroviral therapy. So the interesting thing is that whenever you come up with some kind of therapeutic approach, a new disease syndrome seems to come into play. And so we always have to be ahead of the curve and come up with some kinds of ways that we can tackle these new challenges. This is why we're concentrating on cannabinoids, because they have relatively low toxicity. They can target specific molecular targets. There might be a way to target specific cells within the central nervous system that may play a role in engendering this pro-inflammatory cascade. Well, we found that HIV engenders a tremendous pro-inflammatory response. This involves a lot of cytokines and pro-inflammatory cytokines, as well as it promotes the inflammation or the chemotaxis or the migration of inflammatory cells into the brain. And so some select cannabinoids have the potential to downplay or down-regulate that kind of inflammatory response. And so we've been focusing on how we can target inflammatory cells within the brain, immune cells that become excited following HIV inflammation, so that we can dampen that inflammatory response. We think that cannabinoids may serve as powerful tools for ablating that response. The next step is to find out the specific genes that regulate these responses, and to try to find specific targets on these cells that will act with specific molecules or cannabinoids, so that we don't engender any untoward side effects. And so specificity of action is one of the things that we're really focusing on, and we're looking at the intracellular events that may be involved that could serve as in pathways that may serve as targets for manipulation.